Um, Welcome, friends, to another edition of the Liven show. Today, you are watching us live from Wynn Community Centre's library, the first Black library in London, Ontario. With us today is our guest, the writer, the author of Beautiful, Mabel Kane. Now, Mabel has a degree in nursing and adult education, and she's an avid writer and a reader, and also she's a public speaker with an interest in health and wellness. In particular, she talks about women's health. Now, Mabel's book basically focuses on women during their phase in menopause. So we are going to talk more about that, and she's with us basically to answer all of our questions. And we are pleased to have you. How are you doing, Mabel?
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Is it your first time in the library?
It is my first time in the library, yes.
What do you think?
I like the space. For us women, it could be a little bit cooler, but I like it.
Okay.
Yes.
Probably the library will be looking into that. Now, let's start the interview with a little bit of your background. Were you born in Canada?
No, I was born in Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're from Jamaica originally?
I'm from Jamaica.
And when did you come to Canada?
I came to Canada in 1976. It's a long time ago. Perhaps before you were born.
Yeah. I was born in 94.
See?
Yeah. So ever since when you've never returned to Jamaica, or you go back and forth?
Oh, well, I go back and forth, but there was a time when I actually went back to stay because living here was very difficult. I just couldn't do it. After the first 10 years, it was just too hard. And then when I went back, I took my kids. I had 2 kids by then, and my husband, because he's from Jamaica too. And we went back, and I thought that I would stay. I thought that we would stay in Jamaica, but it became evident that we couldn't because we were so divided. Divided, you cannot stand. You know,
right.
I had part of us was here, and part of us was there, and I just came back because the greater part of who we were, or who we are, yes, actually, who we were at the time, was here. So we came back and tried to make a go of it.
Right. So you did most of education here in Canada?
Well, I did most of my basic nursing, all of my degrees. My basic nursing I did in Jamaica at the University of the West Indies, and then when I came here and I started my graduate education and my bachelor's education and stuff, all started after my children went to university.
Right.
I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the strength, the intestinal fortitude to actually do both, because I started doing it and then my grades weren't satisfactory. I didn't like those grades. And so, because I was divided. I have to focus.
Right.
And so I waited until I went to university, and then I went back to school.
Why were you interested in nursing?
You know, I really wasn't interested in nursing at all. And at my age, I can afford to be honest. So I can tell you that I was not interested in nursing at all. But what happened when I was in Jamaica was, at that time, I was basically homeless. And right after high school, I didn't have anywhere to live. And somebody told me about the university who was taking in girls to train them to be nurses. And since I had the high school credentials,
right.
So I applied, and they took me, and I thought, wow, excuse me, do you think I'm going to turn down a place to live, food 24/7 whenever I want it, a nice bed, shower whenever I want it? I'm going to take it. So I just took it because it was available to me, and I took it. And that's how I found shelter.
So you were homeless in Jamaica?
I was homeless by choice because I didn't really want to live by my parents anymore, because I'd finished high school, and I just felt it was, I mean, they had sacrificed so much for me, and I decided I cannot take anything else. It was just, it's a sin.
And that was in Jamaica?
And yeah,
How old were you?
I was like 18.
Okay.
18, and I felt that it was not right to take anything more from these poor people.
Right, and then you came to Canada.
So after I finished my nursing, I just came to, I was in the library again. I think the library has an affinity for me, not the, I was in the library reading as usual, you know, and I found the job that they were, St. Michael's Hospital was accepting nurses for Canada, and I decided, why not give that a try?
Right.
And that's how I ended up here.
Okay. So ever since you started as a nurse, and then your interest narrowed down to focus on women's health, how did that come about?
That's a good question, because I was, my interest started from the highest. I started in ICU. I did postgraduate courses in ICU. I was an acute care person. So I was not interested in gynecology or obstetrics or all those feminine sciences. I was not interested in. But I became interested in menopause when I had to go through menopause. I actually didn't know anything about it. So I was like floored. The whole experience floored me. And I didn't learn anything about it in school, except it was like mentioned in nursing, and maybe 5 sentences. Okay, and then they went on to something else.
Right.
And then my doctors never talked to me about it. My parents never talked to me about it. My friends never talked to me about it. Nobody talked to me about it. So it took me by surprise. I was like blown right out of the water. And I never read about it either. So that was partly my fault, too.
Right. And then at some point in your life, you decided basically to write a book on menopause. How did the idea develop?
The idea developed because I was so extremely miserable during menopause. I thought I was so miserable and uncoordinated in my mind, mostly uncoordinated. I was getting along okay physically, but I was uncoordinated in my emotional and spiritual well-being. And I could not find my spiritual center. I felt like I had lost my spiritual center, and I'd lost my force, and I was scattered. I was emotionally scattered.
Right. Your book is divided into 3 sections. So there is the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Can you explain as those divisions?
Okay, it's very simple, and the writing on the language is simple. I wanted to when I had it sent it to the publisher, they appraised it as suitable for like an 8th or 9th grade. So maybe 9th grade, because the language, I made it simple so that everybody could understand it. Now, menopause is not reserved for the educated, okay? Right. It's for the educated woman. It is for everybody, okay? So I started with physical, and so I broke down the physical ailments by just taking myself out of me, putting myself on a wall, and going at it from head to toe. What are the symptoms? What was I experiencing? And then and that's how I did all of the sections. Right. And then I actually did a bit of research to get the foundation and the knowledge to support what I was feeling and to explain it better.
Yeah. Can we get in depth on what you were experiencing during your menopause phase?
I experienced the physical. I had all the physical signs. Just name them. There are 35 signs of menopause. I think I had 40 at least, minimum. So I had, for the physical, I had weight gain, and I just couldn't control, and I wasn't eating, but I was gaining weight.
Right.
I couldn't sleep. I had issues with my joints. I had issues with my heart in terms of it was speeding up for no reason. All this time my heart was just like absolutely perfect. And all of a sudden my heart was speeding up for no reason and I couldn't understand it. There was a time, it sped up so fast that I was actually living in Florida at the time. I lived in Florida for 10 years actually. And I was going to work and my heart accelerated so fast, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I had to go in to the emergency twice. And I actually, when I went to the emergency twice, they did not tell me, the doctor, there are 2 male doctors, and they did not tell me or suggest what could be happening to me. Because I'd never felt it before. And all of a sudden, my heart rate was like up to almost 200, and I couldn't figure it out. I was having like chest, neck pains, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. My arm was hurting me, my chest was hurting me, and so I had to go to the emergency. I had no choice.
Right.
And even then, I didn't connect the dots myself.
I see. So this is a book written for women, but also men can pretty much read it just like I did this weekend. What has been the response of your readers? How has your audiences received the book?
Well, it's not as widespread as I would like it, first. I have to be honest with you, because menopause is something that is discussed in secret.
Why?
Because women are afraid, basically women we live in this world where we value ourselves based on how men look at us. And men, for example, in Jamaica, they have a phrase that says, when a woman has reached her menopause, they said she's dried up. And I think I mentioned that in the book, where women are dried up. And I thought it was just in Jamaica, but when I came here, I realized that neither black or white women, and especially black women, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about menopause. They don't want to know that they're going to reach that phase, because when they reach that phase, they think they are not beautiful. And it is not just the women, it's the cosmetic industry too. The cosmetic industry is only, if you notice, and I'm giving you an assignment now for you to go out and notice the ads, or the majority of the ads. They're only interested in women and girls who have high levels of estrogen floating around their bodies, because they have nice plumpy skin, they have no wrinkles, and their breasts are perky, their bottom is perky, and that's all the industry the beauty industry is concerned about.
Because of the market.
Yes, because of the marketing. But however, and women, when they have a partner, especially if they have male partners, they don't want to know. They think their men do not want to know what they're going through, what they're experiencing, and they think their men will think that they are no longer beautiful. Because you got to remember that it is the estrogen in the woman's body that gives you the pheromones or the sex hormones, and men are naturally drawn to the pheromones, which are the sex hormones.
Why do you think it's important for men to read this kind of book, to get themselves educated around issues of menopause and to talk about it openly with their spouses or their girlfriends?
Well, okay, so I've done like three surveys, and they're not scientific, and it just yielded anecdotal evidence that, in fact, men, we are under the erroneous assumption that men don't want to hear about it. But one of the sample size was like 2,500, the other sample size was 2,000, and the other sample size was like 1,500. And in every situation, the men scored higher in terms of their desire to know about menopause, which shocked me. I couldn't believe it, and that's why I ran it 3 times.
Right.
I actually paid my money to run it 3 times because I did not believe it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm very glad. I think men want to know what their spouses are going through. They want to know. They want to participate, and they want to find solutions. I think in a partnership way, mm-hmm. you know. And I think it can be a beautiful thing, this aging process, if you are enlightened and you understand what is going on, because right. knowledge is power, mm-hmm. you know.
There is a question about people who have gone, you know, through their menopause phases, as you mentioned, that they really don't want to recognize it. They just want to ignore mm-hmm. the topic and move on. What are the problems with that? What are the problems with ignoring the experiences that your body is going through?
I can say categorically, you know, that you ignore the symptoms at your own demise, mm-hmm. okay, because regardless of whether or not you pay attention to the symptoms or not, they are going to happen, mm-hmm. okay? So it's better, like I said, knowledge is power. It's better to know what is going on so you can mitigate things. Mitigate symptoms as they arise. For example, the most overwhelming symptom, I believe, especially in early menopause, before you actually reach the 60s and 70s, I say maybe in the 40s and stuff, is type 2 diabetes, okay? Right. Type 2 diabetes is endemic, and it affects black women more than it affects any other race. And by the way, black women reach menopause earlier than white or Hispanic women.
Why is that?
And, well, that's where you come in. You've got to find the money to figure it out. I can postulate something, but I don't know the scientific reason. I can't tell you categorically, but I can postulate something.
Is there a starting age for both sides? Like, when do black women start menopause? And
okay, yes. So black women, so basically menopause begins. They don't teach this in school, but I want the whole subject to be opened up in school, because a woman is born with a finite number of eggs, okay? And the very first day a girl have her period and she ovulates, she has lost 1 egg. So it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. Every time she menstruates, she loses an egg. So you can actually say that, in a manner of speaking, your menopause starts on the first day that you have your period, which is called the menarche. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you are always subtracting an egg. Mm-hmm. It is the egg that comes from the ovum, from the ovary, that actually stimulates menstruation, okay? And once those eggs are done, your periods are done. So at what age do women? Okay, so a woman can start menopause as early as 30, in their 30s, 35. It's not good, but it does happen. And there are other reasons why women have early menopause, maybe like if they are on chemotherapy, like there's some breast cancer medications or some other type of cancer medications that a woman may take that will put her into early menopause, or if she has surgery can put her into early menopause. So there are lots of other things other than normal. So let's put aside not the abnormal, but the other normals. Okay, I don't want to call illnesses abnormals. Let's just say, so the woman who is starting her period, starting her menopause, a woman basically, by 35, she's well on her way By 35, a woman is well on her way to being perimenopausal, and by 40, okay, she is almost there. And so by 40, I menopaused at 47, which is tremendously early. But it supports the literature that black women reach menopause earlier than white women. Okay, so by 47, most black women are probably, they start about 5 years earlier, 4 to 5 years earlier than Hispanic or white women.
I see. That's interesting.
So you know, you go to show the black woman does not want to, I don't know if they know that, but they don't want to even approach it because they feel, their men will feel that they're no longer sexy. Because once you'll start to lose estrogen, you lose your sex hormone.
Right.
And you're no longer sexy.
Right.
But that is not true. That's a myth. But this is how the brain, this is how they think. This is how we are conditioned to think. But that is not true.
Right.
Okay, so.
Well, now let's talk about the book. How did this idea of writing this book began? Because it's published in 2020.
Yes.
When did you start writing it?
I started writing it in 2019.
Right.
Okay. It didn't really take me long to write the book. It took me 6 months to send it to the editor and publish. It took me a longer time to publish it than it took me to write it, because I already know the information. I'm a nurse, so basically the information is lined up in my head. I know it. It's healthcare. I know, and so when I don't have to go back and read a book 100 times to get it. So I knew this stuff, but putting it together and the publishing took a longer time than the writing the book. It didn't take me. It took me about under 6 months to write it.
Right.
It's very small. It's just 107 pages.
Yeah, you can read it in 3 hours or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who worked on the book cover and everything? The book cover shows a photo of you. Probably, our friends would be interested to see the book cover. Who worked on this?
Who worked on this?
Yes.
Is a photographer in Toronto. It's a black photographer.
Great. And the title, beautiful. How did you come up with the titles and all this?
I'm glad you asked me that question, because you see, my idea, I wanted to actually portray to women of all colors and all shapes and sizes that you are indeed beautiful, regardless of whether you are menopausal or not.
Right.
Okay, you are beautiful because you are created in the image of God. So you're born beautiful.
Right.
And the other thing is I wanted to say is that to convey is that you're not just beautiful by looking at your face on the clothes that you wear. Beauty emanates from the inside out.
Right.
So the word beauty, here is beauty, but full, F-U-L-L. You notice it's not
right.
beautiful, it's beautiful. So when you understand what's going on in your body, your mind and your spirit, then you are absolutely suffused. You're overflowing with beauty. So that was I was hoping that it would be translated like that.
Right, and the book, features photos of women from, different kinds of ethnicities.
Exactly. The book features different kinds of ethnicities because I want to say you don't have to be black, white, brown, or indifferent. Doesn't matter. You are a woman. As long as you're a woman, you are a co-creator with God,
right.
And that's the highest esteem that you can. That's the highest rung of humanity that you can ever achieve as a human being. But it took me that long, and my experience, it's like a cathartic experience. It was a cathartic experience to write the book. and to actually believe that myself, that I am an amazing creature. And I want to tell women that regardless of whether you're having your period or not having your period, or having a baby or not having a baby, you are still created beautiful. And you're not beautiful because of all the makeup or the cosmetics you wear. You're beautiful because of what, are you full of beauty because of what is on the inside.
Yeah. One of the reasons why writers write is basically to get their thoughts out there, but also it's very therapeutic to the writer. How has this been in your experience?
You're absolutely right. Like I said, it was a cathartic experience. I mean, I was writing and I was crying at some points, especially when I was researching about how to verbalize what spirit is, and you know, to verbalize it. So I had to actually dig down deep inside of me and then square it with the philosophers like Locke and all those people who are actually, you know, who have lived those kinds of experiences, and then merge it with my own belief. And it was quite a cathartic and a cleansing experience for me. You know, once I wrote it, I was content that I was going to be okay.
Right. How many books did you read in the preparation of this book, and what other books can you recommend for readers to look into?
Well, so much. I think in order to understand your spirit, you know, you need to read about what philosophers write about the spirit and how they. I know you read the scriptures, and I read the Bible, and I even have quotations from the Bible in there. But I also read people like Locke and Kant and other philosophers who actually delve deep into the understanding of what it means to be human.
Right.
And that's, I would suggest. But those books are kind of heavy, and a lot of people don't read those kinds of books.
Yeah,
those are the
academic.
kinds of books that appeal to me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard for me to recommend it.
Do you have final words as we are concluding? Do you have final thoughts you would like to share?
Final thoughts? Well, I would suggest that women not be afraid of menopause. It doesn't help to be afraid of menopause, okay? I would suggest that you embrace it, and in this book or in other places, you can find solutions to some of the 35 symptoms that may assail your body. Hot flashes. I still have hot flashes, okay? And I use an ice pack, I drink water. Lots of water you need to drink, lots. I don't think you can drink enough water, okay? And the reason why your body is so hot is because the temperature regulating system in your body, in your inside, is disturbed by the lack of hormones, especially the progesterone. I haven't talked about progesterone, I've just been talking about estrogen, but progesterone is its sister hormone, and that hormone is the hormone that keeps you on an even keel. It keeps you going like this. Right. And when you stop your period, you don't have any more of it. Or especially if you have a hysterectomy, let's say, for example, you have a hysterectomy, and we haven't talked about hysterectomies and all that, but if you do have a hysterectomy and you're not taking HRT, which is hormone replacement therapies. Now, hormone replacement therapies are good, but they also have their own side effects. So your doctor, and I can share something pretty intimate with myself, is that I had lump in my breast, for example, and I went to the doctor to get a hormone replacement therapy. And although my lump in my breast came back negative, it wasn't breast cancer, they would not put me on hormone replacement therapy. So the hormone replacement therapy is good for you if the doctor determines that it is good for you. But there are problems associated with it, such as blood clots and cancer.
Right.
So not everybody is suitable for that. But there are other things that you can go, there are other places that you can go to wellness shops and get things like black cohosh and St. John's wort and things like that. But those things are not innocuous things either. You have to take them with a caution and because they can make you sick. For example, one of them, those made me sick when I was trying to find something over the counter or something in the health food store to help me with my hot flashes. But hot flashes you can deal with a lot of water and a lot of love from your spouse or your partner.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Dear friends, thank you so much for joining us. Before we conclude our interview today, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Win Community Center, Evo TV, London Public Library, among others. And join us again next week during an interview with Samuel. And then this marks the end of our interview. Thank you so much, Mabel, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good. It was a pleasure.